Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm going to tell you the story of a prince who was born in the body of a pig. I'm super excited about this one because just a few months ago I published a book featuring just such a pig. So yes, I'm going to be shamelessly promoting my book on this channel because why not? I might as well since I'm here. This book is based on an old Malay hikayat called HIKAYAT Raja Babi. Hikayat means an epic, which is actually just a long-form narrative or story featuring the heroic deeds of a person from the past. I've adapted the original story into a children's illustrated book, which was published by Matahari and beautifully illustrated by my friend, Indonesian illustrator Evi Shelvia. Have a look at this gorgeous book. As you probably know, most fairy tales are spread orally by word of mouth. So I'm talking about your grandma telling you a story when you were little, and when you're all grown up and have children of your own, you tell that same story to your own children. Therefore, Hikayat Babi technically does not fall under the definition of a fairy tale because A, it's way too long. B, it was written down and has an identifiable author, a man called Usop Abdul Kadir from Indonesia. The original manuscript was kept in the British Library for years and years and years. It was originally written in Jawi script, but in 2015, Malaysian publisher Fiksi under Amir Muhammad decided to transliterate the original Jawi script. They decided to Romanize it. This was done by Arshad bin Mokhtar, who did a great job. And in fact, Hikayat Raja Babi, the transliterated version, is available online for everyone to read. It's been made much more accessible to all. Another reason why Hikayat Raja Babi is different is, unlike most hikayats, it wasn't commissioned by the palace, by the king. It was basically written by Usop Abdul Kadir, who was a Javanese merchant. He was on a business trip between Palembang and Semarang in and around the year 1775. And I'm thinking he was probably a bit bored, business was slow, and he decided to just sit down, entertain himself by writing this fantastical story. The result is a manuscript that is crazy, is over the top, and just full of joy. If you read the original manuscript, you can tell that the writer really went to town on this story. He let his imagination run wild. Unfortunately, the book was also not properly edited, so it can be a frustrating read at times. For example, there are so many characters who make an appearance and then suddenly disappear without a trace. There are long names that you can never keep track of or remember, repetitive scenes, wild subplots that never get resolved, way too much description, and at one point the author actually stops writing to complain about how slow his business is. So this is a very unique, special book. I think the story is fabulous, it's amazing, but it can also be a bit too long-winded and confusing. Luckily, you have me to tell you the story. In my previous videos, I've tried to keep it short and sweet at around 15 minutes, but I know this video will run a bit longer than that because the story is long. The transliterated book is around 46,000 words. If you want a short, sweet, condensed version of the story, you can read my picture book, The Malay Tale of Pig King, which is just at 1,200 words. But I wanted to use this channel to really delve deeper into the story. So sit back, chill, relax, and hear the Malay tale of the Pig King. Once there was a mighty king who lived on top of a volcano in a country called Rantau, Panjang, Tebing, Berukir. This king decided one day that he wanted a son to one day take over his kingdom. So he told his prime minister, PM, please go out, find me a wife who can bear me a good, healthy, strong son. The PM goes out and he returns not with one princess, but with 41 princesses. The king decides that he'll marry all 41 princesses, which was probably not a great idea, but I guess he thought that This would increase his chances of getting a son. Unfortunately, he was wrong because not one of his wives manages to produce a child. However, by some miracle, one of his wives, Putri Indera Suri, manages to get pregnant. The king is overjoyed. He decides to send his other wives away. He tells them, I don't need you lot. I'm going to send you back home. It is at this point where all the trouble begins. His 40 wives are unsurprisingly annoyed with him. They get together and curse the king. They say to him, may your son be born a pig, a haram, forbidden animal. Now, something that is haram in Islam is absolutely forbidden and looked down upon by people. So this was quite a serious curse. His poor wife is pregnant for 7 long years, and when their son is born, he has the body and face of a pig. Everyone is shocked and a little bit grossed out, but this pig suddenly leaps up in the air and starts to recite poetry, a pantun. He says, ambil kundi, parangkan kandis, gulai belanak buang siripnya. Ayuh bunda jangan menangis, anak dibawa untung nasibnya. For those who don't speak Malay, I'll provide translation of the pantun in the description box below. I guess just like in some of the second leads in K-drama, you're not that taken in by the main character at first. You're not that attracted to him, but he kind of grows on you. This is one charming pig. In fact, throughout the book, a lot of the women and some of the men have commented about how adorable and handsome this pig really is. However, all the king's advisors, the necromancer says, nope, this child is a haram animal. He must be banished. The pig king gets up. He says, no worries, I'll go now. I will find a way to break the curse. Just you wait and see. The pig king leaves on a magnificent elephant and arrives in the middle of a field in the middle of the forest where he meets the king of the boars, Babi Hutan. This boar king has an army of 1,000 boars, and naturally they fight. This little pig king goes into battle with 1,000 boars. During the battle, he is being observed by Tuan Puteri di Pucuk puding. Pucuk puding refers to a type of tree, and Tuan Puteri in this instance is a fairy princess. The pig king manages to annihilate the whole of the boar animal. She is really taken in by this pig king and decides to become his protector. She invites him back to her enchanted garden, but before they enter, she tells him, let me wash you. You have the blood of a haram animal. Boars being pigs and therefore haram in Islam. She washes him. I thought this was quite ironic and a little interesting because the pig king is literally a pig, but the fairy still manages to differentiate between the two. So it's quite an interesting little detail. From this moment on, the fairy becomes the protector and champion of the pig king. She teaches him the ways of war with animals, jinns, fairies, gods, and mambang. Mambang means a type of ghost in Malay mythology. Most importantly, she teaches him the tricks of men, or tipuan lelaki, which I thought was quite a useful thing for him to learn. She also gives him a valuable gift, a magic knife, a parang, which she calls si parang puting. For the longest time when I was researching and reading this book, I just couldn't picture how si parang puting would look like. It's a magic knife, but it's also a fairy helper who can grant wishes. So I just couldn't imagine it until Evi Shelvia, our illustrator, created this character. If you look at the book, you can see what si parang puting looks like. She is amazing. Pig King goes off into the world and meets a jinn called Kilat Angkasa, who is also very taken by him. He thinks that this pig king is charming and beautiful. He decides to take him back to the country of Syahrastan Yunan in Padang Berentah Cahaya, which literally translates to the field of lights in an unknown place. In Malay mythology, you get a lot of mythical places called Negeri Antah Berentah. Berentah actually just means entah. I we don't know where it is. Here, the king meets his lady love, Tuan Puteri Indera Kamala, who is the princess of a mighty Jin king. He courts her and flirts with her shamelessly. And she's quite attracted to him, but also a little bit repulsed because he's a pig. But she turns him down. She tells him, I'm actually engaged. My fiance is on the way here. I don't want to have anything to do with you. He tells her, okay, I'm going to defeat your fiance. So he goes to her fiance, who's called Raja di Gua Persunggi Alam, or Suri Sultan Alam Shah Dewa. Remember, I told you before about the long names in the story. So in this video, I'll just refer to him as the fiance, okay? So the Pig King decides to challenge the fiance and win the hand of his lady love, hoping that it will break the curse. What follows are pages and pages of description and scenes before and during the battle. It's at this point where the author really lets his imagination run wild. The descriptions of the scenes are amazing. In fact, they are just like, crazy video games that you can play today. I couldn't possibly describe everything here because otherwise this video will never end. The end result is that the Pig King defeats the fiance, he marries the princess, hopes that the curse will break, but unfortunately it doesn't work. He is still a pig. This is the part that I really, really love. Up to this point, the main character, the Pig King, is the usual happy-go-lucky, dynamic, strong character that you see in books. But, he reaches this low point. He doesn't manage to break the curse. He gets depressed. He gets downhearted. And in fact, he gives into his emotions. He turns into the beast that everyone expects him to be. He goes on a rampage in the next village, killing and destroying property. He runs to the palace there and frightens the 7 princesses who live there until they all fall ill. The Pig King later regrets his actions, and with the help of Si Parangputing, he manages to revive all the 7 princesses. It's at this point when he feels that he's probably done enough to break the curse. He returns to his wife and in a magical scene transforms back into a human man. I end my picture book here because it's quite a nice place to end, but the original manuscript continues from that point. The Pig King returns back to his kingdom, to his father, to tell him what's happened. Unfortunately, he does marry a few other wives along the way towards the end, which I didn't think was a great idea because this was how all the trouble began in the first place, right? If there's any moral in the story, I think that must be it. The story ends quite abruptly. I like to think it's because the writer's business probably picked up and he became busier with his business and had to stop writing. So what is this tale about? To me, this is a classic coming-of-age story. It's about a child who was born, and at first it looks like luck is on his side. He's born in good circumstances. He's got a king for a father. He's about to inherit this mighty kingdom. But this is all taken away from him by a curse. Of all things, he gets turned into the most vile creature in people's eyes, which is a pig, a forbidden haram animal. He has to start life right at the bottom and make the best of it, just like the rest of us. But the journey he takes makes him stronger. He gets help along the way. He discovers love. He faces many trials and tribulations. At one point, he hits a low and gives into his animal instinct. He immediately makes amends. He puts things right. And it's at this point when the curse is broken. Maybe the story is about finding your way in life. Perhaps it's about finding your own humanity. It's a story about a personal journey that you take to find yourself, to find your true self. I'll stop here with the pantun which ends the story, which I think is quite apt. Puan bertanjak bunga melati, diampu pula dengan kain. Bukan aku takut akan mati, sesalku tidak puas bermain. A translation of the verse will be added in the link below. So what do you think of this tale? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like the sound of this story and want to buy my book, this is the part where I shamelessly promote myself. You can get it on Shopee, on the Fixie website, at Kinokuniya. I'll put all the links down below. Please do consider supporting me in this way. I don't get any funds doing these videos, and it will really help me provide more quality content for future videos. Alternatively, you can support me by liking and subscribing to my channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next week, I'm very excited because we will be visiting the tallest peak in Southeast Asia, the beautiful and mysterious Mount Kinabalu. I will be telling you the Kadazan Dusun story of the origin of Akinabalu. I'll see you next time.